I'm calling the Playground Working Group meeting of the Darien Parks and Recreation Commission special meeting agenda, Thursday, September 29th, 2022 at 8:45, well, actually 8:52 to order. The first item on the agenda is to approve minutes from April 21st, May 19th, June 30th, July 21st, August 11th, and September 1st. Is there anybody in our group that has any changes to the minutes that were prepared by one of our members, Patty? Thank you very much, Patty.
I went through them all. You just don't have April 28th listed here to approve, but maybe because we approved that individually and that went up early. That was the only thing that I noticed.
Oh, okay. Pam, do you remember if we had done that? If not,
I don't recall at this moment.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't recall at this moment.
Okay. So so there were no changes. So I guess if everybody's okay with it, we can approve it. Just the five of us, I guess. The minutes from those dates.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for those dates. And then we just need to
Motion.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, everybody. Aye. It was unanimous. Let's jump into these proposals then. Thank you, Pam, for working with our playground vendors to get this to us in a timely manner. I mean, I think it was challenging because we had a very fixed budget with no room for another cent. And I'm very grateful that they were able to do that. I just wanted to give a quick feedback before about the Parks and Recs Commission did our parks tour over the weekend on Sunday. And I did talk to them about closing the playground for the time from, I guess, November to about May-ish, depending on when it gets installed. And we did have a couple, I think Patty was one of the people that wasn't, it's not ideal to do that for obvious reasons, to close the playground, because it is well used by our community even during off season. But we also felt like there's no, $20,000+ is a lot of money, and we didn't want to sacrifice equipment for that. So I think the commission, the feeling I got was that they were okay with closing it. If we have a better solution, we're going to try to come up with it, possibly finding someone that would take the equipment so that we can kind of shorten that period of time that we don't have a playground. But for now, we need to save the money to keep the $175,000 budget. I think, as you could tell, they had to really work to make the 175 work in all of these plans. So I think I really appreciate that. And I do feel like they did come down in pricing, which is great. So just wanted to give you guys the gist of that. So you have a context to understand why we need to have that money saved through having town staff remove the existing equipment.
Pam,
anyway.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's another solution for the cost, from a cost perspective. So I think that's where, the town is not going to provide the additional $20K from our understanding, right, Susan? So, and Pam, so if that's the case, then I think we'll have to just have the town explain to the town people why we're doing this and show a rendering, as we've talked about, of the new site. I assume that's what you did when you did Playground by the Sound.
Don't laugh, but Playground by the Sound, when we did it, it was behind the tennis court, and it was nobody even knew it was there. So we didn't really have any issues with, and we didn't, because it was behind the tennis court, we didn't have to take it down. It was already kind of away from where we were going to replace the playground with. But you're right, we did talk at our meeting, Kathy, about making sure that we do a great job communicating that this is happening and doing the rendering, because in theory, if we're taking down the playground, we would have made a decision on the final vendor. So creating that excitement about the future might take away some of that, oh, why don't we have a playground here now? So that's a good point, Kathy. Thank you.
Can I ask a question just as a recap, because it's been a while when we were all, this is the I love this group. The only once in a while I wish we could be all together, kind of sitting here going through the plans together on site. But Pam, can you just recap why it's such a long gap? I want to be able to, so when we go out there and communicate why.
In terms of when it will be installed?
Well, so that we would have our guys take it down in November, and then things wouldn't be installed until May. Why November? Is it because our guys are busy with other stuff, prepping like baseball fields in March? That's what I can't, I need to be reminded why we have to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because they can push it later, but the fear is that if the ground freezes, they can't get it out. So November seems to be the safest. We can go as late as we can into November, but if it gets really cold and the ground freezes, they lose their opportunity, and then they cannot do it in the spring.
And they cannot do it in the spring. Why? Just to confirm.
Because they're too busy. We have so many obligations in the spring that it's not something that they can put on their schedule. We have a very small crew, and the ideal time for them to be able to remove that equipment is in the end of November.
Patty, Pam's team is just too small, period.
No,
They
I
are.
Down to it.
I understand them. I see them every day in the park. I appreciate how hard they work.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that online on our meeting out there. So it's reiterated why. So it's the two main reasons is because the ground freezes. And I remember that from the basketball court, right? Like we had to lay certain, things down by a certain time.
Correct.
They're too busy in the spring. I guess my question would be, around this, I do think that this is kind of a thing we need to circulate and get feedback on from the first selectman's office, how they feel about that, about having such a big gap. It just feels like something we need to just touch base with them on. And then when we explain, it's because it's going to cost us, our guys are going to be able to take it out and save us the 20 grand. And that we're going to educate it, as you said, Kathy, and have, graphics up and show what it's going to be. And again, I think I'm not at a McGuan really in the wintertime, but I don't know how much that's used in the wintertime anyways. So, but I don't think any of us are taking it lightly that that's such a long gap. So I just think that that's important to be out there with that.
I do think that the commission, though, with this working group, recommending to the Parks and Rec Commission, they are the ones that are really in control of this with the parks. It's good to give the Board of Selectmen information so that they can field questions, but the Parks and Rec Commission is in charge of the parks.
Yeah, but it's going to be the first selectman's office that's going to get all the complaints that they're, that playground is empty. So as long as they're on board with it and supporting us, and we know that they're like, no, we get it because it's saving us 20 grand, then I think we'll be fine. I just would like to.
Why don't we are done with our decision-making process in the playground working group. Pam, let's just give them an FYI, like we did
of course
for the board. I mean, this is easily, it's better that if we can get in front of this, I'm fine with that. But I think that you're right. We have purview over the parks. So ultimately we're making a decision because our budget is limited and our staffing's limited. And we have to provide a certain amount of services to our town residents. And we're balancing it in your department. So I'm good with what the commission decides. So let's go on to the playground designs because I don't want to, lose our time here. And also, because I think if you look at both designs fundamentally, there's a design with one big structure and two designs with two separate structures. So I really want to get some feedback, especially from Ruth, since you are the only person with kids left in our group. Well, I have kids, but they're a little older than this demographic. So if you can weigh in on some of this stuff, I'd really, really appreciate it.
That are here today, right? There's other people that are here that just aren't on the meeting. Yeah, with the younger
And
kids.
we can reach out after the meeting, getting their written feedback, but I think since we have Ruth online, let's get everything we can from her expertise from our kids.
Do you want me to jump in now?
Right ahead, please.
Yeah, well, my big thing is I'm looking at the one that we just got from the most recent one that was the,
Compan.
yeah, is that the one?
Yep.
Is that what's his name? John, the one from John?
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
no,
first,
you're talking about
he
creative.
submitted first.
Got it. Sorry, I was going back through all of my different emails. Do we have one that has all, like an email that has all of them on it to compare the three, or no?
I sent them all separately.
Okay, that's what I thought. My big thing is I liked the idea of having the one big one. I know like all the different designs. I have to pull up all of them because I feel like I'm getting confused between which one is which. My big thing is I personally like when there's one big area for all the kids, all the ages. Let me pull up. I'm going to answer more when I pull up the one so I can know exactly who. I was trying to save them all, flagging them on my phone. But let me just pull them all up so I can see all three because I don't have them all back to back. Were these from you, Pam, all the emails?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have Creative, which is John. We have Compan, which is Summer. And we
Yep.
have Mike, which is Game Time.
Can we share them as we talk about them? Is that too hard to do?
Yeah, you know what? I before I got on here, I was trying to. I downloaded them all to my desktop, and let me give it a shot here because I did try to do that, but it was having difficulty. Hold on, let me try to share my screen. See
I know
what
it's
can
hard
come
to
up
go
with.
meeting.
Yeah, this is why this would have been a good example of maybe trying to all be in the room together and looking at
Yeah.
Ruth, Creative, John Hollerback, Creative was the one that I had asked Pam just to send. She had sent it right before this meeting. And then the other one's Compound she had sent earlier in the week. And
Yes.
then Mike's she had sent prior to that.
Right.
Yeah. So what I love, Pam, is that they are detailed, that, each one of them sent, about 5 to 6 different photographs of what the design would look like and what individual, the structures and the playthings were, and that they spelled out on their, the costs, so we can be comparing the rubber costs of the floor to the other ones.
Can you see that? Can you
We
see
can
the playground right now?
Not the actual item. You need to open it and you click it and open it.
Yeah.
See what I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at the playground. If you guys can't see that, then I'm not sure why.
Because right now all we see is like the directory that you had on your computer with all the designs.
Huh. Okay, and I actually clicked on that and it's up on my screen, so I don't know why you can't see it. I'm not an expert when it comes to this platform, so I'm gonna close that out. Honestly, I think what we should do is have this discussion, but I think we should set up a special meeting, like Patty said, and meet in person and have them all laid out.
Yes, please.
I agree.
Yeah.
I want to get some of the feedback as soon as possible. The only downside is that we can't even get people online. And I mean,
True.
This fall is a crazy time for all of these people with all these parents. There's so many meetings, open houses, and various things and catch up. And I'm just nervous that, we're going to lose momentum, and we're supposed to go to the commission in our October meeting. So I think that if we can't talk about it as a group, I think people need to send us the feedback. And if we then look at the feedback and, schedule the meeting too, I'm okay with meeting in person. I'm always good at that. But I'm not sure we're going to get all the people that are not already here to come to the meeting. opportunity. So let's just get what we can from Alyssa's online, so is Ruth. Let's try our best now. And go
I
from there.
apologize that I don't have my video on. I'm in the car, so it'll be a little weird if I'm trying to, I'm driving, but I do have everything printed. So I have everything here in the car with me. I have the photos of the diagrams and I have all the pricing breakdowns so that I can try to contribute as best I can.
That sounds fair. Okay, Ruth or Alyssa, we really want your feedback since you have the children, that'll probably be using all this equipment more than us. So go for it.
The game time one, I'm just trying to find that one. I just can't find it on the screenshot of it. Who did the email from the game time come from?
Mike Stankina, and his was like a blue and red rendering. I can resend it if you want.
No, I think I have them. The problem was I was unlike, I wasn't able to print them all up. So I was trying to do them all on my phone and I was getting confused which one was which. I got it.
If I could just butt in 1 second. So Compan had one structure, 5 to 12 years old. And all three companies had the swing set. But Summer with Compan was the only one that did a 5 to 12 only. Okay, and then Game Time and Creative both had a 5 to 12 and a 3 to 5 unit along with the swing sets. So there is a little bit of a difference there. Creative had the big tower. They had probably the most challenging one with a larger tower and some ramps for wheelchair accessibility. So those are the difference I can say right off the bat.
And that was the one at the top of the tower, correct? By going up that outside ladder, right?
Correct.
My vote was, if we're going through votes, my favorite one was the Compan one, the one that had, I think it was the oldest, the one from Summer, I think it was, with like the monkey bars and the different things. When I look at what my kids gravitate towards, I feel like some of the other ones were a little bit, the one that had all the ramps leading up to that one big tower. I didn't think there was enough of like challenging things for some of the bigger kids other than that one climbing thing that brought you to the top slide. But if we are looking at McLean as being our most ADA compliant, I think that one has the most, but I just think we set the age for that one lower. I think that one's more of like a younger, like the older kids aren't going to go to that play. I don't think the older kids are going to use that playground because it's not as challenging, but I think we'll get the younger population and then it's ADA approved. I think that one had the most ramps and the most things like on single floor, and like the little guys can't get to that top slide because they're not going to know how to use that climber. But I think for my older kids, my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old, the Compan one would be their pick. The Compan also offered a number of other elements. The other two seemed like they had the main structures and the swing sets. You know, the Game Time one also had the one spinning element. But the Compan, it was like they had the main structure, the swings, they had something that would spin, and they also had a number of little things around, which was kind of nice, that kids could move around from activity to activity as opposed to just the one big, if they get bored with the climbing, which also could pull in, you know, the little kids that may not be quite as able to do some of the climbing.
Your concerns with Compound not having 3 to 5?
I mean, it seemed like they had so many other things here that like the little ones could still do. Well, the thing that makes me nervous about the Compan one is that balance, you see the balance thing that leads from the platform to the tall slide, like that's something very challenging that a 3 to 5-year-old would fall for. Yeah. That's high level. I didn't see that actually before when I zoomed in. I feel like if we are looking at the safety of the little guys who are going to try to do the big kid stuff, that one would be alarming to me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I couldn't see that on the photos. But that's a really good point.
But keep
Pam,
in
one
mind,
of the questions I wanted to ask is, can we mix and match, or is our price too confined, so we'd have to go with one provider?
can we mix and match? Yes, we certainly can purchase something from, like for instance, if you like the carousel that Compan has that's handicap accessible into the ground, yes, but I think it would be much more of a smoother process to work with one company.
Another thing I would comment on is the game time one. I do like the game time one. I think it's a safe option for all ages because they do have the nice combination of some monkey bars, some other climbing things. It seems a little safer for the little guys.
Which one, Ray?
There's
Which one did you say?
game time one.
The game time? Okay.
Game time from
From
yeah,
Mike.
Mike. Yeah. The game time one I think has a lot of opportunity for the kids, the climbing structures, and then it's a little bit safer. I think the platforms look a little safer. The only thing about that one is I see that slide that goes zigzaggy, and I know a lot of kids don't like those slides because they just kind of hit their hips and they get stuck. So I don't know, again, I think Kathy was just asking, can we swap things out? Like that would be one slide that I would say it's never a big fan. They have it at
Yeah.
Baker currently, and the kids don't like those ones that they go back and forth on. And then the other thing is there's no shade in that one. So I forgot we were also considering the shade factor. So
Yeah.
that one's pretty wide open too. So I don't know. It's a hard thing to just say one because I feel like they all have something a little bit different.
And you can swap out a slide. That's easy. If you don't like that design of a slide, there's many others to choose from. I think the shade element, we're going to have to make that a separate capital request. So I've been looking at shade structures that would go over a playground. But interestingly enough, when I went in my convention, we had discussions about, there was a national study done on playgrounds. 60 playgrounds throughout the US were studied. And it was very interesting about the shade element. And shade, when it comes to the southern states, which is really hot, like where I was in Arizona, was crazy hot. That's where most shade structures are put over playgrounds. But typically with our area, our zone, there wasn't as much need to put a huge shade structure over the playgrounds like you would see in Florida or Arizona or what have you. So, a big, huge shade, if we were to do a capital request, would be about 50 grand. So the little shades that we have at Weed Beach that we put up maybe 4 or 5 years ago, those are small shades. Those cost about 15 grand. So that's something that we probably could put in our capital request if we wanted to put it over the playground, but it's not going to fit in this ARPA money.
And with shade that's already going to be put on existing things, my understanding from our discussions is that shade requires those shades they're basically sails. So they require really deep footings. And I'm not sure that putting it on top of existing new playground is going to work. And we're having pour and play. So if we decide to do something to the pour and play, now we're breaking a surface that we've already just. So I just want people to keep that in their mind, is that the more, and realistically, honestly, I'm not sure I could say that we're going to have budget for a future shade. Like, I don't know if I would, as a commissioner, say, oh, we're going to have $50,000 that we're going to just put shade up. So I think if we're really concerned about shade, we should think about it now in terms of the way we design the playground versus taking playgrounds that don't have any shade at all and thinking that we're going to get it in the future. You know what I'm saying? So that's something to consider as a group, because I think that's realistic. I'm sorry about the noise. I'm getting some work done at my house. Going back to what you guys were saying about things from different vendors. We did that with Playground by the Sound, and it is a little more challenging. We did that. We did the Compan and we did the other company at Structures, and timing wise and other things, getting people to talk to each other, it makes the process longer. So that's just something to keep in mind. But swapping out pieces within a company, totally, I found that they were pretty receptive to it, especially once we nailed down that they were the vendor. So that's something to know.
I'm looking over all 3 images. I kind of took pictures and I'm studying each 3 pretty detailed right now. And because we're trying to keep in mind the age group of the people who are using it, and with the new apartments that are coming in across the street, I think we might start seeing more younger kids. And I know how many little kids go there after their preschool. I am actually changing my original thought was the Copam or Compam. That one originally I was thinking that for the older kids who might be more excited, and like there might be, but I don't think there's enough for that younger generation. I think the 3 to 5 year old kids are going to be very unsafe, or they're going to just have to not be able to really use a lot of the equipment there. So I feel like when we're looking at that age, I don't think that one has enough climbing structures for the little guys. And I don't think there's that much. I kind of, as I'm looking at it now, like I feel like I'm actually ruling away from that one. I'm thinking about the 3 to 5 year olds, because I do think that's a big population in that area, that that one's probably not the best pick for them. So for my 3 to 6 year old, they're a little bit more advanced and they're gonna want to take on those risks. But like I do feel like that population needs something a little safer and a little bit more secure. Does that?
So what was
Yeah,
your
that
new
makes-
thought, Ruth? Did you say you have a new, like which one did you like based upon that new idea?
I keep kind of going back in my mind thinking, like, what do we want to do with Baker? What do we want to do with Cherry Lawn? And what do we want to do with the other ones that make each one a little bit different? And I keep going back to the ADA approved, like like McLean really is our place that I feel like Game Time. I think this one's Game Time, right?
The one with the ramps is
Yeah.
the creative.
Oh, that one's this one's
Yeah.
creative.
That's from John Hellerback from Creative.
The more, I don't think it's as high level, but I feel like some of, gives a little bit, it's safe. I feel like if I was to go there with a younger kid or a child who has physical disabilities, that would be the one that I think has the most options for them. And there is like that one climbing structure for the older kids, but I kind of feel like that one is meeting a lot of our needs. Whereas this other one, is this the Game Time one? The Game Time one, it's pretty and it looks fun and safe, but I don't think everything's stairs. There are no ramps. So whatever has to be done is for kids in wheelchairs. There's really not much for them. And I feel like if this is our playground that we're trying to say, it's wheel on, the flooring's most appropriate for a wheelchair, I feel like then we should pick the equipment that's going to also represent that, and then use the other playgrounds to have more of the climbing structures and things like that. That's where my gut would tell us that this one would be the most appropriate for that setting.
I think that makes a lot of sense. The creative one also, when you first look at it, you feel like you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. You're getting quite a lot of structure there for a comparable price as the others, which gives the kids, a lot of area to play and a lot of area to climb.
And keep in mind, though, too, as we move forward with these playgrounds with ARPA money, that, in my opinion, I've said this multiple times, is that we're always going to be thinking about ADA. So every playground right now should be for everyone.
I think if that's our mindset, then I think the creative one probably fits into that the best.
I would agree, and I
Because-
think it's a great place to start and to showcase, right? Because I think the creative one, it's different than the other playgrounds that we have so far, right? So it's bringing a different element to our playgrounds, which is nice to see too.
It also has 2 shade structures that are already part of it.
Yep.
And it has a safety element where if your child can't, like you don't have to worry about them getting to the top of something and hovering over them. They're pretty much safe on that first platform. And they have 2 different slide components. And then the swings. The only thing I would say is if we could add somewhere, which I don't think we can, but I know that something with the spinning, there's nothing from the
Yeah.
spinning. equipment.
Yeah.
Those little bucket seats that we've seen. That's the only thing I would say is missing in this.
I think we could add that though.
I would agree if we could add those 2, 1 or 2. Yeah. So on the compound, they're called spinner bowls, yellow in ground. They're $1,000.
Yeah.
And they're, kids from my due diligence and meeting with a bunch of families, they love that. And that's not a terribly expensive item if we're able to fit it in a corner somewhere.
Well, you know what I saw at the convention, which was, I took video of it because it was just new and I'd never seen it before, was actually a spinning carousel. But when you spin it, the middle lights up and plays music. It was pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
I like the creative one also because it has the built-in shade that we already emphasized, and there's like a lot of space under the elements, under the structure for the kids to play too. So it's not all, because it's raised up a little bit, there's more room for them to kind of do fun things under the structures and provide shade, especially for our younger kids. I just think that it looks like it's substantial for what we need for that space too.
Yeah.
I also want to add that
Oh, go ahead.
another element that I learned when I was away is that where we might be able to save some money is a new surface. Well, it's not new. It's been around 10 years or so, but it's a cork. I think I mentioned it at the park tour. There's a cork surface that may save us some money to put more elements in.
Oh, you mean to expand?
Well, no, instead of poured rubber, it's a cork surface they're using that's just as safe and it's less expensive from what I understand, so that we could put other spinners and things in the platform if we want.
But could
Drew,
you brought that up Sunday at that meeting, so thank you. But I mean, there's no due diligence on it. I'd want to read like what's involved in it, what's the wear and tear, how long is the warranty on the surface, what's the positives and negatives. Is it less in one place? So that would be a positive. But I had never heard of hot cork until you said it on Sunday. So if you could send us.
The playground companies absolutely would know about it. So we can get the feedback from them. Whoever we go with, we certainly look at that as an option if we can save some money.
Just piggybacking that, my husband overheard this and he plays baseball at the high school and he was just saying that the cork fields are made of the same material and they get extremely hot. So I don't know, Pam, if you heard anything about the temperature for the cork, but because we know McGueen is a hot place to begin with, I would be mindful of the temperature.
Mm-hmm. But same with the rubber. So that's.
Pam, just want to go over the orientation of his plan. So would the swing sets be where they were originally or now? I'm just trying to get, where the big structure is going to be towards the field, is it? I just want to make sure.
That's what it looks like to me.
It looks like, and I remember the ramp coming off the, like when you walk into that entrance, was that his idea?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I have it on the right orientation. So the higher structure will be towards the playground. I mean, towards the field.
Towards the fence.
Yes.
Towards the fence.
Yeah. And the kitty structure will be towards the parking lot, right? Is that what just want to make
That's
sure.
what it looks like, yes.
So my question on the ramp is, in these photos, if you look on one of them, you'll see how do they get up onto the ramp? There's no flat surface.
No, John made it clear when he presented that that's just a rendering. It's actually flush to the ground as a ramp, but he couldn't get the rendering to make it look like that.
Okay. And so the depth of it, you know, is there any concern about how fast somebody in a wheelchair could roll off of it really quickly?
No,
Or coming down?
No, the playground companies, like I said, it's a rendering. It shows, it looks like a little bit more steep than it would be, but they're very mindful of the height, and
Okay.
it's all got to be standard.
So,
But
I mean, the thing about
good
this,
question, and we could ask, we certainly can have the playground company clarify.
yeah, from you ladies with the young ones, one of in my notes, I went back in and read all the minutes. One of the things y'all kept emphasizing was climbing, that your kids seem to really like to climb. And there are a lot of kind of climbing elements up and down the sides on this and jumping. So, you know, that green ladder that goes up to the top.
From a climbing perspective, they're going to climb on the outside of that ramp. I see kids do this all the time. They do it at the Weed Beach one too, right? At the playground there, where which is safe, but they'll climb. The kids who want to climb are going to climb on the outside of the ramp, and they're going to like use that as their own. So I feel like they can recreate their own climbing structure as well, because I do think there's a lot of climbing opportunities.
Okay, so you're happy with that? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of climbing. The one thing that this one is, in addition to something spinning, the other thing it's missing monkey bars. But if we're expecting more of a younger set to go to this playground more often, I think there are other elements for the older kids, and the little ones aren't capable of doing the monkey bars quite yet.
Yeah, Melissa, I think that is the demographic for the playground, because I remember from baseball when my son was young, it's the little kids who go on. The other
Exactly.
kids
And
because they're the ones who are.
I like that little thing on the other side that, again, unless you're really zooming in, sometimes you don't see everything, but there's like this little boy walking on these little steps. That's really cool for balancing. I guess it's to the left of the ramp, and you can see it in one of the pictures. But I think that's a cool thing that some of the older kids also might find enjoyment.
The kind of the little individual mushrooms.
Yes.
Yeah. Squares, little rectangles.
Like it's green and he's walking on the yellow things I see for balance, and then in front of that are the wider things.
Yeah.
It does have a lot of play options, and in such a small space, it brings in a lot, which is nice.
I agree. I like that one.
Yeah,
And
I think
all of these guys were good that you brought forward. I thought they all did a really nice job presenting.
I agree with that too. I think they give us some nice opportunities to choose from.
You know what? I would really like to get the feedback from Curtis on our committee about this. He does have someone that requires that access. That would really help if this is one of our, it's something that we like, but I want to make sure that someone in a wheelchair that might be using it can use it effectively.
Agreed.
And so, if one of us can reach out to him, if he, we'll send a note to the group, but I really think that his feedback on this would be really appreciated, because that was one of the things at the meeting for the parks that we as a commission talked about, is that yes, everything's going to be, we're trying to go for accessibility, but this is the one that our accessible playground for the commission. So
Susan, I'll call him, but why don't you and I call him together? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Maybe you and I could do a quick call with him or something. Yep. I just think that this is so important for what we're doing.
Is there anything that's missing that's on the existing playground at McGuan that you feel is not here and will be missed? I mean, we've got the swings, so that's check. We've got slides. We've got climbing elements.
I think the monkey bar part, because it's got that big loop currently, right? It's got like a big circle monkey bar. That's the only thing, but I think, you know, we kind of brought that up already, is that that's one piece that's currently there, that's not going to be there.
Okay.
Is it possible, Pam, if you send out for the minutes, or whoever might be sending out our minutes for this week, if we can send all 3 pictures in one email, and just for the other moms who aren't on this also to kind of weigh in and just say, this is what we talked about today. But then maybe we get a vote from everyone from the 3 side by side, because for me, visually, I just kind of like to see all 3 and weigh your pros and cons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would send, if you can, Pam, just yeah, pull it all together, because it's also helpful, not just the pictures, but also the printouts were helpful.
Right.
Or the pricing, I'm sorry. So we could compare pricing 1-to-1. I loved how Pam spelled out each and every item and what those costs were. I thought that was helpful. And there's not, I think somebody asked about, so there's not a chance to get another bay for a swing there. Another bay for additional, based on space. Okay.
I think it's
I
space,
don't
and
believe so.
Patty, it was also money. Like, I think they really tried to get this on, you know, what we can, but that was the dream, was to put another bay for another set of swings. Especially if we made it a complete like rectangle, it would have been, it seemed like there might be space, but I think between our budget, on pure budget, and then if we had to redo that, add that space on, it would be another add-on. And I don't, you know, we're basically trying to save $20,000 for this project already. So we probably don't have that money accessible for us now. So if we could just get, this has been great feedback on this. I mean, I think it was nice the way everybody kind of looked at everything and then kind of thought about the usage. I think it seems like we have a little bit of a consensus on creative recreation so far with the spinner add-ons. Maybe John would even put those in for us now, if he, you know, because I noticed that his pricing from his original presentation, I mean, it was the same. Basically, his price was always at $175. So if he can throw in maybe a couple of spinners with it, to just make sure that we can get everything that on our wish list, I think that would help a lot for us to make our final decision.
I would love those. Yeah.
You know, I think that would make all the biggest difference for us as a committee, because then we would have done everything we thought we needed on the playground. But let's get the feedback from the rest of the group that couldn't be at the meeting. But I think our next steps were to kind of send something to the commission to make, so that they could see what we've decided on. Our next meeting is in October. October, Pam, do you have it handy? If not, I do.
I'm looking at it right now. So
It's on the meeting.
October,
Are you
Yes,
talking about a PRC meeting or a
Yeah.
working group meeting?
it's a commission meeting.
the commission meeting.
Because I'd like to have something to them to approve maybe in October, not approve, but look at for the first time. Because I think the other thing we talked about, I should have mentioned it early when we started our meeting, is that we do want to get the public weigh in, not only that we're going to have the playground offline, but on the final design. Even I said that I felt like we as a committee reached out to a lot of different schools and demographics in our group, but they felt that we should have a public meeting. So if the first time they see it is the first meeting is October 19th, I'm thinking that we're either going to have a special meeting after that, or it'll be a commission meeting in November that they make the final yay or nay, right? Pam, is that what
Yes.
would that then give us enough time to work on the timeline, to say to the vendor, we're on, we want you guys, and then for them to produce this and get this in as early as possible in the spring? Or do you think we
Yes.
need to go sooner than that? Like, do we need to have a special meeting later in October?
So Game Time got in touch with me and said that their pricing is going up November 1st. So he wanted to give me that warning.
Mhm.
So if it was Game Time we were looking at, we need to make a a decision quickly.
Mhm.
Compan and Creative have not given me any indication other than locking prices in before December.
Yeah, on creative, John, when you read through I'm sorry, there's a lot of feedback. When you read through some of their information, it does say quote is good for 30 days. So he sent that to us. I think it was August 17th or sometime around that period. So you just need to check in with him on that.
Yeah, Patty, those are typically aren't enforced.
Pardon me?
Typically not enforced. I think Pam probably has a more realistic understanding of when the quotes will do. That's a standard term they stick in every quote. They
Okay, good.
typically aren't
Just
enforced.
wanted to know since we're talking about this.
Okay, so we need to figure out when this committee needs to have a final thing to the commission. So the question is, if we can get something to them, what day are we on? 29. So we can get something to them on the 9th.
We're missing Curtis and
What?
Sarah. Who are we
What?
missing today? Curtis and Sarah and Devin, who's kind of on and off. Would you want to do something like Ruth said? Can we send out all three of these together again, so people weren't searching through all their emails, and just ask everyone to go through it more specifically and give their pros and cons on each one? Or do you want to just do that for Curtis and Sarah?
I can send it out to everybody just the way you want it. I'll put the one rendering of each company that shows the entire playground. I won't overwhelm with all these different,
I actually think I would like to have the beyond just the one rendering. I love to see all the specific, like on Game Time, their one rendering doesn't really do it for me. But when you look at the other individual pictures, because I printed all of those out, then you're like, oh, I see it. Yeah, no, I get that. So
I think what we run into, Patty, with one email with all that stuff is it's too big of a file to send out, and because it's all graphics. So it's something to consider when people have different email platforms that one.
Okay, but I mean, we could have just done this better. So we could have all been prepared a little bit more, I think, if we can't get it up on the screen to be looking at it together. That's all I'm saying.
Well, don't forget, everyone has received all the renderings.
Yes, no, I know.
So
I know.
I will send an email with the one rendering from each company and remind everybody if they want to indulge, they can go back into the email and really look at all the details. But I'll give the price and the platform just
That's
to.
perfect.
Yep. Okay. And then I think we should make one special meeting before our Recreation Commission meeting. So before the 19th.
What I was going to say was, like, I had prepped and printed out in advance, so I did have all the compound things, and I went through that, and I did have the Game Time, but I couldn't find the John and the Creative. That was just because I guess it was because it was back on August 17th. So I appreciated when you sent that to us this morning, so I could have that there as well. I just didn't have the time. I didn't have as much time to go through that.
Yeah, let's schedule that meeting for this committee to meet. Let's just do that.
So
let's say
we also,
yeah, go ahead.
we also sort of define the ask from everyone so we get what the response. So the ask is what do they think of each of them, but also what the recommendation is. So I think we want everyone on the committee to provide a recommendation back. So we have that as well.
And I think you're right. And we should tell them how we got to, like, that we're leaning towards one and that we're thinking adding spinners to that one would make it a complete, like, it would really make it work for us. I think that's helpful to let them know that there was some discussion here and we worked out a lot of the thoughts that we had. Pam, so I would like to, you always need this stuff a week before the commission meeting, which is going to be October 12th. So in theory, this committee would need to meet October 6th, right? Because that's the next Thursday.
That's what I'm thinking, 6th.
So why don't we try to send out that email and say, we're also going to have an online, should we do it online or in person? I can do either, but I'm thinking that a lot of people are going to have challenges meeting up in person. So I'm flexible either way.
If
I think
there's
we
a
should
way,
ask the people who couldn't make it today, which would work best for them.
Yeah, I'm thinking, why don't we make it an online meeting? Just because I think that we're not going to get the people, it's just too challenging this time of year. And if some of us want to meet in person, maybe, I don't know if Pam's in the office on Thursdays, I'm happy to go to town hall and talk to people in person too. So I'm flexible enough to do either. But I just think having that flexibility for people that we want input from will be very helpful, right? So,
Yeah,
Pam,
that's
if you
fine.
don't mind sending an email saying we're doing the online on October 6th, people that want to meet in person, just let us know. We're happy to do it. And tell them before that time if they can look at it and be, if they can, to send us the feedback before October 6th, and that we can discuss in person, online October 6th too. Okay? So we're getting everything we can. So if people can't make that meeting, we still have their feedback. It's in the book, so to speak, and we could discuss it. And then at that point, let's put October 6th as our final deadline from this group to make the decision on McGuan. And then go
Sounds
forward.
good.
But Pam, if you could ask John about those spinners in the meantime,
Sure.
that'd be
Yeah.
great. And also make sure that if we decide, like when he needs us to decide to get the playground in the time in the spring, because I don't want to hold off scheduling, because right now we're already like, oh, maybe May. If it takes too long for them to install, it's going to be a problem for us,
Okay. I'll
because we're
confirm with
extending
him.
that deadline too much. But is everybody okay with what we just discussed in terms of moving forward? I think that's good. This is a
Yeah,
lot.
so it would be October 6th at 8:45. I'll text Curtis after this, Sue.
Yeah,
Is
and
it-
if he can
Talk to
at
him
least
and-
give us his thoughts on creative, I think that would be really helpful. I just want to make sure we're headed in the right direction. I don't, if we're being misguided in some way because we think it's right, I want to know that now, sooner than later. Okay? Is this okay, guys? I'm sorry, I don't want to, we didn't get a full group of people, but I feel like we did trudge through some good stuff. So let's reconvene on the 6th. And if you guys are also welcome to write your feedback too and send it to the group if you want to. What do you think, Pam? Everybody, do you want to compile it and put it in one document, or is it better for people to reply? Because I find that, as you saw with this email, we had multiple emails. People couldn't find everything in one place. So maybe the thought would be that everybody responds to you with their feedback.
Sure.
You give us a final email with what everybody thinks. You don't have, whatever you want to put in it, and then send it to the group before the meeting, if possible. Okay? Because I think otherwise we're going to lose stuff and feedback. Okay? Thank you guys for your time again. Always valuable. 9:45. Good to go. Thank you.
Bye.